Good morning on this Saturday. It's a beautiful Saturday. I hope today not rain so we all can stay outside. So you are listening to WCEG We are the worldwide community empowerment group. My name is Ramona, and today we have a guest, Adam Hicks. We're gonna be talking about an important topic for all the community. I'm gonna be for the next hour. And I want to remember you, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And now we are streaming. You can download the application on your iPhones, tablets. You just need to download and put WCEG Network. I want to remember also that the opinions and suggestions on this program are not responsibility for WCEG. And Adam, thank you so much for being with us. Can you, present yourself and let us know a little bit about your job in the community?
Okay, well, thanks for having me, Ramona. And it's nice to see you again. My name is Adam Hicks. I work for this nonprofit Concrete Jungle. We were started in 2009 in Atlanta, and we started out focusing mainly on like fruit trees and harvesting fruit trees with the help of volunteers and donating. And now we've expanded onto like farming and orchard work. And my role is I'm the field manager for Concrete Jungle. So what that entails is that I lead the fruit picks. So for that, I find volunteers that have been with us for a while and I recruit them as volunteer leads. So they get a large leadership position where whenever we have a fruit pick, they're going to be the ones leading. So I train them in that. We have volunteers that come out and we go all over the city because there's fruit trees all over the place that people don't realize. And we also have a map as well. So if you're wanting to find these fruit trees on your own, at least the ones that are on public land, you can look on our fruit map. But we find a tree. We have these fruit picks every Thursday, sometimes on Saturdays if the Thursday schedule doesn't work out. That pick leader goes out there with the supplies, and it could be apples and persimmons or berries, like service berries and mulberries are coming up. So many different kinds of fruits. You go out there with groups of people, harvest it, and then it all gets donated. And we donate to many different community partners from like Beloved Community Church, West Atlanta Watershed Alliance, SWEAC, In-Town Collaborative Ministries, Mercy Community Church. So many different groups that support people in the community who are food insecure. So on top of that, I also lead what we call adventure picks. So we do stuff in town in Atlanta, sometimes as far out as Stone Mountain where we have our orchard. But we also go outside of the city to like South Georgia, North Georgia. We've even gone as far as Florida. Like we went to Florida to do a gleaning. So gleaning is taking all the extra produce that would otherwise be wasted on a farm and then donating it. So we went down to Florida a few weeks ago to glean cabbage and onions from one of the largest organic farms in the southeast. And it all got donated to the local Florida food bank. And so afterwards, the adventure portion, we want to have fun afterwards to celebrate with our volunteers. We went swimming at a local park. We camped out the night after that. And then in the morning, we went kayaking. And the previous year, we were able to see manatees. We didn't see them this year, but we did get to see an alligator, and it was in safe distance. So people who want to come next year don't feel like there's going to be an alligator on the tip of your kayak. It was perfectly fine and safe. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we do things like that in North Georgia, South Georgia, and again, as far as Florida, we're even planning one that potentially could be in North Carolina this year. And then another thing that I also do is what we call our peel program. And when we provide our food that we harvested, I mean, I might know what it is because of the nature of my job. I have to know the fruits and vegetables that we're harvesting, but the community members might not be familiar. So we do cooking classes and taste tests so that the community members that we're donating the food to can understand what the food is, because they might not be familiar with their own cultural background or family background. Or they might be familiar, but they're like, I don't know how to use this. I don't cook. Because if you go to a pantry or shelter, you might be used to seeing a lot of dried goods, canned goods, processed goods that are shelf stable and can be there longer. So we provide the fresh fruits and vegetables so that also it's healthier for people, but you can't just give it to them if they don't know how to use it. So we do the cooking classes, taste tests, And then they get to try the food and they're like, oh, this is delicious. I'm like, it's really simple, 5 or 6 ingredients, really few steps. And then when they see that, they're more inclined to take the food. And then we give them a recipe card as well at the end of the program so they can have it on their hands, and has a recipe on one side, nutrition facts on the other, and then just fun fruit facts on the other side. So it's just, there's a lot of things that we do, and that's just a small portion that I have a personal hand in.
It's very interesting, and it's a very important job the organization and you and all the team do, because it's a big city and many people don't notice that there are frutal trees in the streets, and people who coming from other countries, people love to grow vegetables and grow fruits and all of that. So let the people outside, because we live running our lives every day, let this to the people and get them interested on these activities and get involved. It's a big job, I know. It's hard, but it's very important. We in the past we have been talking with other guests about the importance to back to to our roots, to back to used to grow, to use spend time, use keep our culture, keep the roots for our oldest. So this is very important, and I hope more and more people get involved, because also what you was saying, teaching them how you can cook with a vegetable that they regularly not eat is also very important, especially right now that everything is so expensive on the markets, and not very healthy food outside. So that is very important. Another question I have for you, how you got involved in all of this? I know, most of the times happen that when you are growing and you don't know what to do, you have a focus, but not very clear. How you got involved on all of this, and how you develop your career doing this that now is, your job, but also part of your life?
It's kind of a roundabout way that I got involved in this, honestly. My educational background initially was marketing and studio art. I didn't end up going the marketing route, ended up going the educational route, first with an introduction through teaching English in South Korea for 2.5 years. I did pretty well over there, came back to the US and wanted to teach, but I wanted to get more credentials. So I got my master's in teaching so I could teach elementary, and ended up teaching in the Bankhead area, which is one of the lowest income areas of Atlanta. And it was a challenge. The kids were amazing. The families were amazing, but the resources that they had access to really stifled their ability to learn, to learn a lot of different things that we were trying to teach. And it wasn't to say like, oh, their intellectual capacity was lower than any other child within the city. It's just that when you're struggling with housing insecurity, food insecurity, all kinds of things that are going on in your community as a result of poverty, transportation access. I mean, you really do need a car to a certain extent in Atlanta. So there's a lot of challenges that my students were facing. So as I was teaching, I was looking for things that I could be doing to also support my students. And one of my friends introduced me to Concrete Jungle through volunteering, through this organization called Community Bucket, where they bring people together to volunteer all over the city. After they finish volunteering, they go to a bar and they get like free drinks or food or whatever. And we all get to talk about our experience. And I got to volunteer on the farm, and I loved it. You get to go outside, you get to meet new people. So if you're new to Atlanta, it's a great way to meet new people really quickly. So I went to the farm and I was hooked. I was like, I get my vitamin D, I get to meet new people, I get to socialize, I get to learn how to grow my own food. And I get to serve the community by all the food that we grow there. It gets provided to people who need it. So I did that for like 2 years, and they kept asking me like, would you like to work here? And I was like, I'm already teaching. It's a lot. And then I decided I got to do something different, because there were so many challenges to my students that I couldn't deal with just in the classroom. And I wanted to see how that all connected. So I applied and got into Emory's Rollins School of Public Health and got my master's in public health. And while I was there, Concrete Jungle hired me on full time. And then things went crazy at that point as well, because again, COVID happened, which we're still dealing with today. And So my job initially was to do the peel program, the taste test and cooking classes. And then when COVID happened, we had to quickly switch gears and we created a whole grocery delivery program to deal with the needs of the community as they shifted, since people couldn't go out to the pantries anymore. Couldn't, it wasn't easily accessible to go to the shelters anymore. So they couldn't get food as easily. So yeah, it just, that's how I got involved, and things kept evolving, and it's still evolving, and that's what we continue to do as the needs of our community keep shifting.
Yeah, I know. Times become so crazy since COVID, and we have to change so much, a lot. The whole life for us, the interaction for people. And talking about this, I know the program on Concrete Jungle involved, bring a lot young people. And we know with technology, telephones, tablets, TV, it's very difficult for young people to get outside. How you been seeing change? Have you seen big changes on this young community to be able to go outside? And because I know many young people try now to get more, we can say, healthy, holistic, and all of that. So do you see an increase on this community to be able to, get out?
I mean, it's more, I think people are really craving something alternative to all the technology. Unfortunately, in our culture, we really push work, 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 and working online seems to be, the trend of the day. Whether you're looking for work, like a lot of my friends are going into sort of tech jobs because of how well it pays. But even when I was teaching, a lot of the academics now are really dependent on technology, which socializes children to see that as their route to almost everything, whether it's learning or socializing. So, but I think everyone's starting to feel that burnout and getting tired of staring at screens all the time. So it's really more so not an issue of like the growth of volunteers wanting to participate, but more so finding those people and reaching out to them in ways that are familiar to them, whether it's through social media, or advertising in places like this, like coming on your radio show and hopefully people hearing about it this way, or word of mouth. That's also how we know that we're doing a good job if somebody hears about what we're doing. But I think once people get on the farm, there is a little bit of discomfort if you're used to being online all the time, especially young people, because it is a social event. We don't just want people coming here and like go and pick vegetables, pick fruits so we can get more for the community, which we do want. But we're like, get to know people in the community as well. We're trying to grow not just food, but growing connections. So if you're more tied to the community, tied to the mission of providing food for the community, and you get to make friends along the way, you're more inclined to return. So we're not going to push people to be like, get off your cell phone. But, over time, you're going to realize I get a lot more out of this if I'm not attached to my phone as much. So there is a little bit of growing curve for depending on how dependent people are on their technology when they first start coming to our volunteer events. But over time, it depends on that person, on how fast they start to detach from all the technology and start to really see like how fun it is to just engage out in nature with new people and really talking and getting deep, deep in the ground, but deep into each other's backgrounds to understand each other and themselves more.
That's great. That's great. And, we always encourage people to get connected, like if you are thinking to change the style of life you got, change careers, just find the purpose in your life. And this is a great option to explore. You always can connect and start doing something very different. Like you was a teacher and now look, but you can do everything, being on the organization, but also being teaching classes, nutrition classes, food classes, how to cook. But that, I'm sure that go beyond that, the connection you made with people and the change mind you can make when you talk to all of these people is incredible. Thank you, Adams, for the job in the community. I know it's very hard. Then can you telling us, in case people would like and is interested or get connected with you, where they can go, or, how they can connect you, and also where are you located?
Oh, our office. So we actually have two branches. We started it out in Atlanta and now we've branched out to even Athens. So we have an Atlanta and Athens office, which is really cool for those who want to do something different at a different location. You can connect to us through our website, concrete-jungle.org. We also have our social media, which I have to look up. I'm sorry, I'm not the best with social media, so I don't remember all of those off the top of my head, but it is Concrete Jungle ATL for our Instagram, and it's Concrete Jungle ATH for the Instagram for our Athens office. For Twitter, it's C Jungle JUNGLE on Twitter, and on Facebook, it's Concrete Jungle. I think .org is how you can look us up on Facebook. So there's many ways to connect to us. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And always, to our audience, if you are looking something else, somebody to help and support, encourage your children to go out, on the world and start doing something very active and very healthy, you can contact Concrete Django. And always, I'm sure you can find Adams able to guide you, through this process. And Adams, I'm very curious. So how, because unfortunately right now, because all of the pandemic, all those situations that we are happening in this world, generally in our personal lives, how was for you, to adapt? Well, I think it was, like few by few, to adapt from teaching and then going out to a different environment. But I'm sure, the transitions and changes are very difficult many of the times for people.
Mhm.
But how was for you, like mentally and physically to change that transition?
It was a challenge, but with any change, there are going to be challenges that come about. So people have to be aware of that. But I had to make sure I had a strong support network around me because I've had a lot of changes. I went from, my marketing degree, did some internships in marketing, wasn't a big fan of the work, so transitioned to teaching abroad, and then transitioned to teaching in the U.S. And then transitioned to public health and trying to figure out where I fit in that public health realm. So it's been a lot of changes, but I'm thankful that I had the support of my parents. I mean, school costs a lot of money. There's a good amount of loans that I took out, so they have thankfully been helping me with that by allowing me to live at home, so cutting some costs in that way. I've been thankful enough to be introduced to like mental health services through psychology, like therapists and like mental health practices like meditation. So I've taken a lot of advantage of that, and I know that's something that it's very like privileged to have access to. So I'm hoping that people who do have access take advantage. Those who and also those who do have access also do their best to sort of expand their privileges to other people in their community, whether that's through universal healthcare or other means. But yeah, mental health access, the therapy helped out a lot with trying to work through those challenges because there's a lot of barriers to change because like maybe teaching wasn't my expertise when I first started. I had to learn, so there is challenging in growing in that area. And then going into Concrete Jungle, I was not familiar with a lot of fruits and vegetables. Having to train volunteers, having to train volunteer leads, going down and interacting with farmers, which is the culture that I was not familiar with. So there are a lot of challenges with that. And then working in nonprofit work, it's always things changing, whether it was with the pandemic or changing roles as our needs of our community members change. So learning to adjust has been a lot, but then also having my own practices outside of, therapy and meditation, making sure I have to make time for myself. And that's also a challenge within our work culture. Because when I was teaching, I did not have work-life balance. And that's something I've been learning to adopt more of, scheduling in time for myself, going on hikes, going on walks, hanging out with friends. So I'm learning to prioritize that more, because that's not something that the culture readily expresses to the wider population as something that's important, within something to prioritize. It's very important. Take care of yourself. You can't go around filling other people's cups with an empty vessel. So yeah.
Yes, that's very true, and I think a lot of people during the last 3 4 years have been experienced. Just put outside the material, the job, and just stop for yourself and take the time to, like heal wherever you need to heal, but
Mm.
especially mental, emotions and all of that. Talking about emotions and talking about mental health, I know you have to deal, probably not directly, or in occasion directly with people in the community. And United States is a mix of cultures and people and minds and all of that. How you manage with people, because working on the community, I know there is a lot difficult people.
Mm.
How you have been learning to manage that?
Well, teaching helped me out a lot with that, to be honest. I went to a really good teaching program at Trinity University in San Antonio. And one of the things they taught me was even the vocabulary that we use in describing the students that we're working with. It could be very derogatory or dehumanizing. We might not realize that because that's what we grew up hearing when we were in school. But a kid who's like has a lot of energy. Some might be like, oh, that's so frustrating. This kid's just running all over the place. But I'm like, he expresses himself in many different ways. He's very physical in how he expresses himself. Just looking at it from that different way allows you to see opportunities and how you can support that child in their education. So seeing that, whether I, have someone who's not having a great day and I'm approaching them and trying to show them this food, it's like I have to learn, like, don't take it personally. It's not about me. The people that we're serving are going through a lot.
Mm,
Right now, there's a lot of issues with jobs. There's a lot of issues with housing, along with having access to food. And then if you have children, along with dealing with these other issues, that's a lot to handle. So when I come to them and I'm like, hey, would you try this food? And they're like, no. And like, it's a tone that I'm not, used to hearing as often. I have to take that and be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, oh, I hope you have a better day. We'll be here next month. Or if they push back and they're like, I don't want that. That doesn't look good. It's like, oh, well, how would you take this food, and how would you normally prepare it? And then I'll take notes, because it's like if I make a dish with, I don't know, I use an ingredient that they're not familiar with. Like, I don't know what that is. I'm not going to try that. Like, oh, well, I have to figure out how it, connects with something that they're more familiar with, whether it's a dish or a vegetable. So it's like, this recipe, you might not want to try it, or it might not be as familiar or tasty to you, which we try to do culturally relevant recipes. But you like, sweet potatoes, right? Or you like the collard greens, right? And they're like, oh, sure, I like those. Well, then you can replace this ingredient with that. So if you want to, you can still have this recipe card, but just don't go verbatim. I'm going to scratch out this ingredient, which you definitely don't like, and I'll write on the recipe card, change out with this ingredient. And then they're like, oh, I never thought about that. It's like, yeah, we're trying to do our best to serve you. So I appreciate your feedback. And we do surveys as well. So when they try the food, or even if they don't try the food and they say, no, I don't want to try it, I'll put down, a check mark of no, they didn't want to try it, but I'll do my due diligence to be like, what made it so you didn't want to try it? And we adjust and go on. But yeah, there's a lot that comes with doing this job. You're going to deal with different personalities, which is, I think it's fun. It's a fun challenge because every day is different, but you got to be able to understand and read between the lines. It's not about you. You can't take it personally. But then we also try to amass different resources to where if they express there's something else they're dealing with that we don't have the capacity to support them on. There's plenty of other organizations within our community that it's amazing. Once going into this work, there's so many services that people have access to. It's just that they don't know that they have access to it. So finding ways of bridging that gap can be very helpful. So yeah, and letting them know, like, if I don't know the answer to things, like, I just don't know, and I'll do my best to figure that out for the next time.
Yes, but always is appreciate the attitude you put outside with the people, in the community. We know many people who approach to us looking for some kind of help or information or resource. It's very difficult because they most of the times are frustrated, are, in some way we can say they are scared for different situation in their personal life, but I always appreciate the attitude we all can take with them, very patient and try to help always in many ways. But it's and also I'm sure people in the community appreciate our service because it's few people that are able to be outside even when they don't know nothing. Like you say, sometimes we don't know where to refer them, or we would like to help them more, but we are unable to do it. But it's always appreciate Adam's, your passion and your advocacy, providing food or resources where people and families can go and get these services is very important. So before I forget, can you repeat us again the website where we go and can help find information about the organization?
That'd be concrete-jungle.org.
Okay.
And you can also, if you can't remember that, you can type Concrete Jungle. I would say Concrete Jungle Atlanta in Google, because if you type in Concrete Jungle, it'll show you that Bob Marley song. It always confuses people. So Concrete Jungle Atlanta, if you type that in Google, it should show up as concrete-jungle.org. And you can always email me as well at adam@concrete-jungle.org.
Okay, so we have the information, and our audience, if you are interested on getting involved on these amazing, activities and organization, and support them too, because I know all the organizations that work nonprofit needs a lot of support for the community outside, for, all the people who is able to help and support, just contact them and get them support too. So, Adam, what is your plans for the future, in your personal and professional too? Because both of them are very important.
Personally, professionally, I'm just always looking at personal growth, learning new things. Like meditation is very important in my life. Plant-based nutrition is very important in my life. That's what actually drew me to Concrete Jungle. I switched to a fully whole food plant-based diet and a vegan lifestyle in 2013, which really helped my life. I was like 270 pounds before, lost 90 pounds. Avoided a lot of illness except for COVID like 5 months ago, but hadn't been sick in like 10 years. So just exploring more things, getting more exercise and more balance in my life. We talked about work-life balance, but I actually had a friend approach me on that whole idea of work-life balance. And she was like, part of it is what you're prioritizing in that phrasing. And she's like, you should talk about it in terms of life-work balance and prioritize life first. And so now thinking about it in a different sense. So like life-work balance, which I still got to work on phrasing regularly. What else I do outside of Concrete Jungle, a event called Community Documentary Night. So that's something else that I'm exploring on expanding. So what we do is we find documentaries that are available for free online for our virtual events. We have virtual and in-person events. And everyone watches the film online beforehand for the virtual event. And then we meet on Zoom for discussion, and it has people from around the country who attend. And on occasion, we luckily can get directors or people from the film to join us as well. And I'll partner with local organizations whose work aligns with the film that we're going to be showing. So we can have like very broad discussions, and it's really a lot of fun for people because they get to learn from the films, they get to learn from each other. Because it's just, I wanted to show the value of the people within our communities. It's not just the experts who know about these certain topics, but everyone has their own experience. So I wanted to value that in having like the small group discussions where there is no real facilitator. It's just that everyone who's attended, I break you out into a group and you hold that discussion within your space. So we do that online, and then in person, it's very similar, but we end up watching the film together. So I get the screening rights, and sometimes, I mean, we're very lucky that this upcoming one, next Friday, we're going to have a speaker who's very knowledgeable about Appalachian water systems. So she works for the Nature Conservancy, and we're having a discussion on that. So our events are either I partner with an organization or we do a voting night. So I want to have, community input too. It's not just me dictating, this is important to know, but anyone who comes from the community is like, I want to know about this. I want y'all to know about this and have a discussion. So they recommend a film. That's what we vote on it at the end of the night, and that's what we end up watching, and they end up coming up with the discussion questions for that night. So I want to have input for the community and not just me dictating what I think is important to everyone. So expanding on that, and then even expanding on like my knowledge of the work that I'm doing now with Concrete Jungle. I literally just got back last night from a symposium. We're part of an organization called I think the acronym is AGO, AGO. Can't remember if it's AGO or AGO. I heard different things at the symposium, but it's the Association of Gleaning Organizations. And I learned a lot. Like there's organizations all over the country that are doing amazing work, gleaning excess food from farms that is otherwise going to go to waste and donating it. So we were learning from each other on how to expand on what we're doing and do what we're doing already more effectively and more efficiently, and getting more people involved and getting more people to know what we're doing. And one of the groups that we learned about was ampleharvest.org, which I'd like to throw out there, because what they do is really cool. Like a very small number of people, but they have a huge impact. They connect people who do like backyard gardening. So if you have a backyard garden and you're growing too much, you're like, I don't want to waste all this food like I have been doing in the past. You can search for your local pantries or food banks or whatever, and you can get connected to them and provide your fresh fruits and vegetables that you've grown in excess, or if you have a tree in your yard that you don't use, which you can call us to do as well. If you call us, we can come glean from your fruit trees, and it could all be donated. But if you want to do it directly, you can go through ampleharvest.org, and they'll connect you with them, and you provide it directly to those pantries, because it's a challenge in the pantries to get fresh fruits and vegetables. It's easier to get access to dried goods, canned goods, processed goods that are shelf stable. So it's nice that there's a resource out there that can connect these groups. And then also, if you're looking for food, ampleharvest.org is a great resource to look for, like, I am food insecure, I need the support, and you can go look on there by your zip code and find organizations within your community. So trying to expand on that, but I'm always just trying to grow. So watching documentaries, reading books, meeting new people, hiking, mental health stuff. And my friends are all working in public health. A lot of my friends are working in public health and in education. So always wanting to hang out with them and learn more about what they're doing. Because it's just, helping other people, I feel like helps me a lot as well. I want to know that the people in my community are doing better. For me, that's the American dream, is like not just, me pulling myself up with my bootstraps, which I never agreed with, but like knowing that, my community is doing better. If they're doing better, I'm doing better. And that to me is the American dream that I seek out. If that answered your question.
No, yes, that's fine. And it's always good to hear that. I think I hear that from a lot of people, and I'm very happy to hear, again, for young people, because that is the main thing. That is the importance. Not just live, but live with a purpose, and live for others too, giving others the opportunity to learn, to get opportunities, and to change life. And I love what you say about the documentaries, because I think discussions among a subject always get you to discover and learn so much about the others. I think in life we learn more for people. We learn listening them, looking at them. I don't want to sound noisy, but it's like looking their lives. You learn so much, and that is what gave you wisdom in your own life, and pass this to your children, or you don't have children, nephews and people around you, even friends of you. So that is the important in how we grow as a persons, but also gave us an idea how to grow professionally. I think it's the most important and very valuable, very valuable. And I wish the best, and you keep going. And like we were repeating so many times, but watch, watch your mental. That right now, I think this you don't want to get stressed, but you stress. I don't know why. So you keep your mentally peace.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes. So I we have time, but I would like to resume this in Spanish so people in the Hispanic Latin community can know what we are talking about. and
That's cool.
let them know to meet you also.
Okay. I
Okay.
wish I knew Spanish. That's one thing that's another thing that I do want to grow in is learning other languages. When I was in Korea, I learned a little bit, but I definitely want to learn Spanish because when we go through the pantry line, sometimes people will say like, "Oh, no English," and I'm like, "Oh, I gotta do more to be able to communicate with people so they understand more about what we're doing and also to understand more of like what are the challenges that they're facing because Atlanta is a very diverse. There's a lot of people from different countries, and if we can't communicate, how can we help each other to have, stronger community ties? But also like one more thing I forgot to mention, like if people are interested in my documentary night, they can go to the website documentarynight.word, W-O-R-D, press, PRESS.com, and they can figure out about future events if they want to participate in person or online. That's open to anyone. So thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate being able to talk to y'all, to you, and this has been great. Thank you.
Yeah, about the documentary website, can you repeat that again, please?
Yes, it's documentarynight.wordpress.com.
Okay, thank you so much. I know many people is interested, like as I repeat you again, more people is um, getting back to take more importance, to take time and to change things that are not working in our lives right now. And I'm one of those persons. So, and I also, before everything happened and the time ran, I want to congratulate you because I know, the lifestyle becoming more healthy in what you eat is so difficult and very important because it's like when you change your style of nutrition and what you eat and how you eat, it's prolong your life. And it's something that I have been working on, but I'm telling you, it's so difficult. And right now there are so many styles of nutrition that I used to stop eating meat. But something is something. But made the transition like you was telling us you did. And now know what you're gonna eat to compensate everything your body needs. It's difficult, but I congratulate you because I know. But before going because Spanish is faster. But how was that transition to become vegetarian, or can you explain that?
Yeah. Yeah, so that was an interesting transition. I actually started when I was in Korea. I had no introduction before that to well, no, I had a friend in college who was vegetarian. But he wasn't like, I don't know, like wasn't someone that I wanted to model myself after. Not saying he was like a bad person or anything. But when I was in Korea, it was just a great experience to be outside of the culture. I mean, like we said, it's like work, work, work culture, constantly going, going, going. And it's also a very individualistic culture. But when I went to Korea, it was very a communal culture and had me very thinking in a very different way. So while I was there, I wanted to go out of my way to learn more things. So I started watching more documentaries and reading more books. And one of the first documentaries I watched was called Forks Over Knives, which you can watch for free online. And it focuses on two doctors, both of which who grew up on dairy farms. And they both came to the same conclusions, one focusing on heart disease, the other were focusing more on cancer, but seeing the impact on consuming animals in different capacities, whether it's fish, dairy, eggs, or whatever. or meat, and how it impacts different disease and how it shows up in your life, whether it's chronic diseases like diabetes, cancers, and heart disease. And it resonated with me because my family health history is so rough. Like my dad's side is 15, he has 15 siblings. He's the youngest, and there's only, I think, 5 left now, including him, due to heart disease, diabetes, and cancers. And my mom also, she's one of, I think, 5. I get really stuck on the numbers. My dad is easier to remember because the numbers are so large, but she lost a few family members as well. And also complications with diabetes and other health issues. So when I saw that film, I was like, okay, this really resonates. I'm not sure I want to do it fully. But then maybe a week or 2 after watching the film, I got a call about 2 more family members who were sick on both sides of the family, got cancer. And I was in Korea again, and one of them had called me on the phone. My parents put him on the phone, and he's like, I think I can hold off until you make it back. And he ended up passing away on my way back, so I ended up going to a funeral rather than going to visit him. So it was just very, it made it more urgent for me. I was like, okay, I got to at least give this a try. If I can help my family in any way, that'd be great. I wasn't so much thinking about myself, even though I was still overweight. That wasn't me at my heaviest. My heaviest was 270 pounds. Maybe there I was like 240, maybe something like that. So I had lost a good amount, but it was still fluctuating a lot. But Korea made it a lot easier too, because I'm not getting all the fast food commercials and billboards and all that kind of stuff, although it is a very meat-centric culture. So there I changed my diet over a little bit. I still went vegetarian while I was there because my co-teachers were convinced I would die if I didn't have any animal products. So I was like, okay, I'll be vegetarian for this year. But I was committed to, when I come back to the US, I'll go completely vegan, but not just vegan, because vegan means it's just not eating animals. So you can eat Impossible Burgers for every meal. You can eat Oreos all the time and Doritos, but I want to try out like a healthier lifestyle. So I went whole food plant-based, which is trying to eat the foods in its whole form, similar to like the foods that we design for our cooking classes and taste tests, so people can be exposed to that in an approachable way. So I did that, and for me, it wasn't as difficult because I like to cook anyway. It was just figuring out what to replace what with. So take the meat out of the dishes, which was fairly easy, and then beans, lentils, mushrooms make a little meaty flavor, eggplant if you cook it a certain way. So figuring out how to do that, and then like getting over the mental barriers of like, oh, but my culture, and realizing in a lot of ways my culture was dictated by what was it, like colonialism through slavery. Like if you look back at African American diets, it's dictated by the slave owner. So all the things like chicken wings or chitlins, or even the vegetables that we ate that were cooked in pork parts, like it was based on what was, discarded by slave owners. So like that's not the original African diet that whoever from our family background was brought over here was eating. Because if you're looking at a lot of African diets, a lot of them are heavily plant-based. So when I started looking at it from that way and not thinking through the soul food idea, it made it a lot easier for me to transition, and then knowing how to cook helped me out a lot as well. And then learning more because when I learned about it at first, it was strictly about health. But then I started also thinking about the animals, because I think it made it easier because I wasn't eating them anymore, to start to engage in that understanding. And then I started volunteering at animal sanctuaries, which blew my mind even more, because it's like, I didn't know that cows had personalities, and like, this cow's cool, this cow's kind of mean. Like, he doesn't like to be touched in certain ways, or if you pet him, he wants to be petted first because he's very competitive with his brother. Like there's 2 cows at a sanctuary named Cash and Waylon, and one brother is like very jealous, so you have to pet him first. Uh, so things like that, I'm like, I didn't know they had personalities, much less any intelligence, which helped justify my eating of them in the past. And even learning about fish and their intelligence and their communities and their socialization with other species. So, and then now with climate change being more pressing, learning the impacts of, if I consume, especially cows, every animal I consume has a huge environmental impact, whether I'm deforesting the land in order to grow crops to feed them or to graze them. Like the Amazon's getting deforested at high rates because of animal agriculture, or looking at our oceans and how we're pretty much clear cutting what's considered the forest of coral reefs, with how we're dredging the oceans in order to get fish, and then we're killing all kinds of other sea life in order to eat these fish. And then also knowing the impact on our health by consuming them. So like we've depleted a lot of fisheries. So just the more you learn about it, the more it's just like, wow, I can impact so many things. And learning about, like we talked about, people coming to this country from other places, immigrants in this country who are sometimes being forced into jobs that Americans do not want to do, whether you're working out in the fields or working in a slaughterhouse. So slaughterhouse workers have a lot of trauma from, you're killing animals and dismembering them on a daily basis. So if I'm transitioning to a lifestyle that doesn't impact that or doesn't contribute to that, now I'm making life better for everyone involved, whether it's the environment, the animals, the workers. So it just, everything I learn over time makes it a lot easier. The front end, yeah, when you're learning to change anything, but once you get that 30-day routine set, it becomes a whole lot easier. Then you find the communities that will support you in that change. It's just, yeah, that first step is the hardest, but once you get through that,
Yeah.
it's find the support in your community, and I think you're pretty good.
That's great. That's great. And yes, that's true. The beginning is the difficult part. So once you take the decision, it's a whole change life personally, but also socially outside. So let me quickly translate a little bit and give this information to our Latin Hispanic community. Buenos días, les agradezco mucho a toda nuestra audiencia hispana latina que estén con nosotros hoy. Nuestro invitado de hoy es Adam Hicks. Él trabaja para la organización sin fines de lucro concretedjango.org y así lo pueden encontrar a concretedjango.org. Así como se escucha, lo pueden tipear en su computadora y pueden encontrar toda la información sobre Adam, pero también sobre la organización. Esta organización sin fines de lucro trabaja para proveer comidas a las comunidades, comidas nutricionales frescas. Él nos platicaba, nosotros aquí en Atlanta es grande. Muchas de las veces nosotros no nos detenemos un poco a mirar a nuestros alrededores, pero hay muchos árboles frutales y yo personalmente he visto muchos pérsimos y manzanas. Y hay muchas personas que tienen sus huertos y estas personas muchas de las veces contribuyen con las organizaciones locales a proveer comida fresca y todo el público nos podemos beneficiar sobre esto. Él también nos estaba platicando las actividades que ellos hacen para recolectar comida fresca, frutos o vegetales que sobran de los huertos grandes, que ya no pueden recolectarse, ellos los recolectan, son actividades que ellos hacen por parte de la organización y es una buena oportunidad de envolver a nuestros hijos o nosotros mismos si queremos cambiar nuestras actividades, a lo mejor pasar más tiempo afuera conectando con personas, pero también trayendo un beneficio que es la comida natural para nosotros, para nuestra casa, y ayudando también a esta organización a apoyarla en sus actividades. Recuerden, es importante volver a nuestras raíces y muchos de nosotros recordamos cómo vivíamos nosotros en el rancho con nuestros abuelitos cosechando, mirando cómo ellos sembraban el maíz, cómo teníamos oportunidad de ir en el rancho a recolectar naranjas, guayabas, todo eso. Entonces, es importante para volver también a tener una vida sana. No nada más recolectar por recolectar, pero también cambiar nuestro estilo de vida, nuestra nutrición para durar unos poquitos años más sanos. Entonces, si alguien quiere conectar con Adam y la organización de Concrete Django, pueden ir al website concretedjango.org. Y les agradezco que estén con nosotros este sábado a recolectar pues esta información y si ustedes quieren estar envueltos en WCEG Network y ver nuestros videos basados sobre otros tópicos, pueden ir a WCEG Network en YouTube, en Facebook, en Instagram y ahora también pueden bajar las aplicaciones en su iPhone en su iPhone, en su Apple Watch, en su reloj de Apple, y allí también nos pueden ver por televisión en vivo y agarrar toda esta información. Para apoyar a WCEG Network pueden ir a la página principal y dejarnos saber sus comentarios y sus sugerencias. Ok, muchas gracias por todo y nos vemos pronto con un nuevo tópico que a todos nos interesa. Gracias, Adam. Thank you so much, Adam, for taking the time to be with us, to provide all this information and, you know, put out the options for all of us to change our life with different subjects.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Yes, and I'm sure in the future gonna be more opportunities so we can expand, you know, our resources and also the ideas for our audience. Thank you so much. So thank you so much to every audience, every person that is watching us today on Saturday. Go outside, please, and walk and take a breath for the whole week. And I hope to see you and I hope you connect with us next month or the next season. I think we're gonna have a break, but thank you so much on September and enjoy your summer. And WCEG Network, thank you so much for the platform you gave us to put out this information that really I'm sure many people outside gonna take, you know, as an option to start changing life. Okay, thank you. And I'm gonna see you on September. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Hey.